Family Guy, at least back in its heyday, had some offensive content in their episodes, but for the most part, the risque subject matter is news for the sake of shock humor, and it's clear that the show doesn't unironically endorse it. At least I hope it doesn't, because if it does, then oof, jeez. But what if I were to tell you that there was an episode where the main plot involves an adult in a position of power dating his teenage intern? However, unlike the running gag of Herbert chasing after Chris, this relationship wasn't treated as a joke, but instead was presented as a legit love story that the audience was meant to root for. As utterly insane and immoral as that sounds, Family Guy actually went there in the season 4 episode, Deep Throats. While this episode is full of incredible jokes, such as the cutaway gag with the talking claymation cars, the scene where Stewie interacts with Mystery Inc., and the bit with the Noid, plus the subplot of Peter and Lois signing up for a talent show, and smoking some, well, inspiration to help them write a song for their performance was pretty enjoyable. There is still no way I can in good conscience give it a pass, due to its genuinely problematic plot, but let's quit beating around the bush and go through its events. So the episode begins with Brian getting mocked by the whole Griffin family for racing around the house all day, when even Meg has gotten a job as an intern for Mayor West.
Hey everybody, Brian's the new Meg.
Yeah, you're the new me.
Shut up, Meg.
Which motivates him to become a cab driver. However, after he receives a $400 ticket for parking in a handicap zone, Brian becomes enraged and goes to Meg to demand a meeting with Adam West to confront him over what he considers to be an unfair charge. But Meg refuses to entertain that idea, and she even gets quite defensive of Mayor West, which could be considered foreshadowing for the unfortunate events to come. From this point, Brian decides to make it his mission to take down Adam West, and teams up with Stewie in order to search for evidence of corruption from him and expose it to the media, all because he can't accept the consequences of parking in a handicapped spot. After sweet talking Meg, the duo managed to sneak around the mayor's office and find his logbook. Upon reading what's inside, Brian discovers that Adam West has scheduled a meeting with someone at a local motel. Believing that this could be the lead that he was looking for, Brian goes to the motel in question with Stewie on the night the meeting is supposed to take place, in order to spy on Mayor West in hopes of finally getting the evidence he needs to bring him down. And here, he discovers the very scandal he's been desperately searching for, as it turns out that Adam West, a grown man, has been having a secret romantic relationship with none other than Meg, who, keep in mind, was still a minor at this point in this series. Brian and Stewie proceed to spy on the two of them over the next few nights, capturing evidence of their problematic affair. Afterwards, Brian confronts Meg with his findings on her affair with the mayor, and lets her know about his intentions to reveal this damning evidence to the public. Meg then proceeds to beg Brian to not go through with it, claiming that she and Mayor West are in love, which obviously doesn't matter, as not only is a relationship between an adult and a child unacceptable under any circumstances, but there is also the unbalanced power dynamic, with Adam West being the mayor, while Meg is his intern. So it wouldn't be a stretch to speculate that there was some grooming involved. Now, the proper way to tackle this subject matter is to clearly show that the minor who is attracted to an adult doesn't truly understand what they are getting into. And if the adult in question reciprocates these feelings, then that makes them a predator, taking advantage of the minor's naivete. However, for some baffling reason, this is not the direction the episode takes, as in a later scene with Adam West and Meg in a motel room, she informs him about Brian's plan to expose their relationship, and he then decides to break up with her in order to spare her from the humiliation of a scandal and protect her future and reputation. And for some reason, emotional music plays during this moment, as if the audience is meant to feel sorry for the two of them and view it as a genuinely loving relationship getting unfairly torn apart by unfortunate circumstances. But surely this can't be what the episode is going for, right? Well, surprisingly, it is, as Brian, who was eavesdropping on the conversation, starts to look as if he feels bad about what he is doing. He then comes to Meg and informs her that he is no longer going to reveal her affair with Adam West to the public, and then proceeds to say this.
I got so caught up in taking down Mayor West that I
Just lost sight of right and wrong.
I'm sorry. What? What do you mean, Brian? You were 100% correct in calling out this disgusting relationship between Meg and Mayor West. How is a relationship between an adult in a position of power and an underage intern in any way right?
What were they thinking?
I guess you could argue that Brian only cared about taking Adam West down, but even if his motivations were self-centered, he was still in the right for trying to expose a problematic affair. Was this supposed to be a story about Brian maliciously trying to destroy a wholesome relationship over a grudge against one of the people involved, only for the painfully obvious age gap to be completely forgotten about? I just cannot believe that this is the conclusion that the story ends on, because who in their right mind would unironically support child grooming? It can't be that the crew behind Family Guy don't know that pedophilia is wrong, considering the jokes involving Herbert the pervert and Chris. So why is it suddenly okay if an old man dates Meg? I have no idea. This was just a poorly conceived and a horribly written plot. Thankfully, Meg and Mayor West don't get back together, despite this story's conclusion. Granted, that's mostly due to the episodic nature of Family Guy, as it's unusual for the show to have ongoing storylines, for its bread and butter is standalone plots that don't affect its characters and world in the grand scheme of things. So Meg and Adam West's relationship just ends by default. What makes this situation even weirder is the fact that Adam West would later become Meg's uncle when he marries Rose's sister Carol. I can't imagine she'd react all that well if she found out her husband used to date her niece. And that'll be it for this video. Be sure to give it a like, share, and comment, along with subscribing to my channel and hitting the bell for notifications. Anyway, see ya!